Saints Live with me, Kenzie Benali.
And me, Steve Forbes.
Well, in addition to welcoming Storm Eunice to the south, we also welcome Everton today for our Premier League clash. Now, the Toffees have won just one game on the road so far this season, and St Mary's is not an easy place to come to try and improve that away form, given the Saints have lost just one here in the same period.
Indeed, it's going to be a tough day for Frank Lampard's men, not only because of Southampton's form recently, but also because of the conditions here at St Mary's. But joining us to brighten up our day, we have former Saints captain Dean Hammond and Premier League reporter Paul Belverson. Now, that was just our light going down, Paul. No need to panic. No need to panic. Yeah, very good.
It's all under control here.
Now, Paul, this is your first time on Saints Live in person. You excited? Nervous? Quite a big stage for you?
I'm in a right grump. Every time I've done this from home, I've seen the pampered luxury you two are in over in that box, having champagne delivered at half-time and all sorts. And then you've got us out here on the gantry in the coldest day of the year. I don't understand it.
And Dean, lovely to see you as always. And I'm sure you're happy you've come and braved the weather here down on the south coast.
Well, I think I'm a little bit happier to be here, but no, it's look, the pitch looks magnificent. It's nice to be back at the stadium. It's a little bit colder than being at home, I must admit, but yeah, good to be here.
Good stuff.
It's certainly adverse weather conditions, isn't it? Storm Eunice in full force at the stadium behind us. But let's take a look at the team news, shall we? That's coming your way in under 15 minutes time, so let's talk about what we do know already. We obviously know Nathan Teller is still battling an injury after a slight setback. Nathan Redmond, though, is back in training and could well feature today. That's the good news. And Lianco is, of course, a long-term absentee. So, Dean, in terms of the starting 11 today, do you think Ralph will opt for an unchanged side for the third game in a row?
I think so, Kenzie. I can't see any reason why not. There could be an argument for maybe potentially Jack Stevens to come in, who did very well in the second half against Manchester United. Obviously, Livramento is getting more minutes now and came on and performed well in the Man United game and looks to be fit again and is an exceptional player, as we've seen all season. But I don't see any reasons why the manager would change the team. They're playing so well at the moment. The spirit will be high, the confidence will be high. They've earned the right to come back to St Mary's and perform in front of the home fans, which I'm sure will be loud and noisy and happy today. And like I say, they've had a good period to recover, enjoy the results. So I can't see any reason really, and I'm looking forward to seeing them play today, looking forward to seeing them play live today and really appreciate and experience how they are performing, because they're playing so well and they've shown against the best teams in the league that they're so competitive now, and it's brilliant to see the energy they play with and, like I say, the confidence they play with. And yeah, I'm looking forward to a good game today.
Paul, what about yourself? How do you expect the Saints to line up today?
I think it's fantastic, the depth and strength of the squad. There are a lot of players pushing the ones who've got the shirts at the moment, but it's hard to make a case for too many changes, really. I think most of them pick themselves, certainly the two up front, the two in the middle, the two at the back. If Jan Bednarek has shaken off whatever problem he had at half-time at Old Trafford. I do wonder, I've often wondered about the number 10 positions, the wide players, if that's an area where Saints are perhaps not as strong as they are in other departments. And at Old Trafford, you had Tino and Carl Walker-Peters together, and they did seem to dovetail very well and cause a lot of problems down that right-hand side. So I wonder if that is a long-term option going forward. Apart from that, though, I'd be surprised. He does like switching, doesn't he, between three at the back and a back four. But I think with Everton playing a 4-4-2 at the moment, they certainly did last week when they beat Leeds, I think he'll probably match them up with his more favoured 4-2-2-2. So yeah, it'd be a surprise to see the same team again, wouldn't it, for so many games in a row? But you can very, very easily make a case for that.
Well, the team news is announced. We wanted to take a look at and highlight some of the performances in our 1-1 draw at Manchester United. Some great performances, but we wanted to start with Oriol Romeu. Dean, just how impressive was he, and how impressed were you by his reading of the game against Manchester United?
Kenzie's an exceptional footballer, and his performance against Manchester United was brilliant. Probably the complete midfield performance in terms of, like you said, the reading of the game, the understanding of the position, his distribution with the ball is exceptional, really, really good. I think it's really undervalued, if I'm honest, and underrated. He's so comfortable in receiving possession, and I think what he's changed this season, and probably noticeable in this game that when Aurier gets the ball, he drives forward now. He's not just always looking to keep possession, he's looking to create something and make something happen, as we see from the Stuart Armstrong chance here, where he drives into the box, plays a lovely 1-2, and it's the weight of the pass as well there. If you look at Stuart Armstrong, he's not having to change his step. You know, he flows into that and gets a good strike, and he was exceptional, really, really good. And I say it most times when we speak about it, I can really appreciate him, obviously being a former midfield player, just what he brings to the team and how important he is. But he is an exceptional player, and you know, this moment is brilliant. It's one-touch football, his awareness and his vision to bounce the ball into a forward and then bounce the ball wide to Stuart Armstrong to create another chance for Stuart. And I love this bit as well, his aggressive nature, but fair. That's a fair challenge and a good challenge and a really strong challenge. And you know, it was on Ronaldo as well, which is quite nice to see. But he's a brilliant player, really, really is, and he's the heartbeat of this team. And him and James Ward-Prowse have been exceptional of late. They really have, and that partnership, I can't really see too many better partnerships in the Premier League. I really can't. In current form, they are really, really good, and they're the reason why Southampton are picking up good results at the moment. And Aurier Romeu deserves all the credit and all the plaudits he gets at the moment, because he's been brilliant.
I'm not sure if you wanted this to be common knowledge amongst the Saints Lives fan, but we have outed you as a Spurs fan in previous shows. Now, what have you made of former Tottenham defender Kyle Walker-Peters recently, and how good a signing is he looking for the Saints?
He's been absolutely exceptional, hasn't he? From the first day he walked in, really, he was on loan. He took a couple of games to get his chance, but has been exceptional. I was surprised, I was amazed when he was left out early on in the season. He took his goal there, didn't he? Like a striker. He's got so much going forward and going back. He's an absolute nightmare for wingers attacking him, because he anticipates so well. He can intercept the ball, he can block people up, he can tackle. He's just got everything. He got very little or few opportunities at Tottenham. The fact that Southampton have snapped him up, and the way they've transformed the full-back positions, because last season, and maybe even the season before, they were so light there. When there was an injury or suspension or two, then they were really struggling, and you'd lose James Ward-Prowse going back there. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg played there. A lot of players. It was a real struggle. Now you can't fit them all in the team. They've got such strength in depth in those positions, with Perraud, Walker-Peters, Livramento, Jan Valery, who's come in and done a job a good couple of times this season as well. I'm a huge fan of what Kyle Walker-Peters brings on both sides as well, because he's played so well on the left and the right this season. Like I say, going forward, going backwards, he's got everything. He's been, so much credit has to go behind the scenes for identifying him as a player who can thrive in Ralph Hasenhüttl's setup, because that's what he's doing.
What a player he is. Finally then, Dean, Che Adams, he scored his 6th goal in 12 Premier League matches, his most prolific goal scoring run since joining the club. Talk us through that goal at Old Trafford, because it was an incredibly composed finish.
It really was, and he's, like you say, Kenzie, he's in excellent form at the moment and looks really, really confident, and scoring different types of goals as well. But you know, I mentioned it after the show that the passing and the moving for this goal was exceptional. You know, Aurier Romeu again is part of it, plays a lovely ball to Perraud at left back, and him playing that one touch really sets the goal up for Hasenhüttl to be in that hole in between the midfield and the defenders. And Hasenhüttl does something fantastic where he controls the ball, he has a touch, and he has a quick third touch just to draw the defender in, to encourage the defender to come towards the ball. And then we talk about the finish, and I didn't actually realise it until I've looked at it many, many times. I thought Shea kind of curled it and then the ball came back in, but it actually goes into out and goes away from De Gea, and that's why it hits the post and goes in. But it's a brilliant finish, because if you're not a confident striker in that position, you potentially have a touch and maybe try and come back onto your right foot to then try and curl it in. But Shea's movement's brilliant. He comes away from the ball, he gives himself time, he gives himself space, and he would have picked out that angle right in that corner, knowing that he's got the precision has to be there. But it's a brilliant finish, and you can see the joy on his face. You know, he carries on his goal scoring form from the goal against Tottenham, and when he's in this form and he has this confidence, he's a brilliant player. And the partnership him and Brozier have together, a bit like I mentioned the two midfield players, unstoppable at the moment, and you wouldn't want to play against them, and they're both scoring goals and they're both creating goals. So brilliant, it's a great finish.
Yeah, hopefully he can grab another one today. Now this is interesting, because after last week's match, Ralph was asked about the areas that Southampton targeted Manchester United in. Have a listen to this.
Manchester United, Southampton, 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 Yeah, I mean, it's not a big secret that when they lose the ball, that the reverse gear is not always the best from everybody. I think in the first half they have shown that they can work good against the ball. They had some good ball wins, as I said, but the longer the game was going, the more they are cheating then in the first line, and then you can play over this first line, and then you have space then, and you have then the chance to create something, and this is what we did. And there we must be in some moments more clinical, and always a good balance of the risk you take, because when you lose the ball, then you know that the rest defense must be perfect, because otherwise the counter of the counter is then the situation that kills you, and this is the big danger against this team.
Well, it was an interesting one, that actually, Belvers, because he certainly was incredibly open and honest there, and actually some pundits were a little bit critical for that honesty. Now, you're obviously regularly speaking with Premier League managers, posing questions to them. Do you think that honesty should be applauded, or do you think perhaps a little bit more tact should be involved?
Us media people are never happy, are we? Basically moaning when players and managers are talking in cliches and not giving anything away, then moaning because they're talking honestly and openly. I think it's to be applauded. I think he's giving us, in a lot of ways, a bit too much credit, because he's kind of trying to teach us a bit about the game and what they'd noticed, and it's not like he's revealed any great secrets that's going to hurt Manchester United over the coming weeks. United themselves will have known what that was about in some ways, because he was highlighting other players. It was good for United, who are facing all this criticism about it's all about the Ronaldo problem. He's actually highlighting other players who aren't tracking back and that sort of thing. And I think, he's being very generous in that he's going into great depth, and most players, most managers, they don't do that with us. Now, there is a bit of grumbling. It's an area that our media don't really care too much about. Tactics, systems, formations. I remember being at Arsenal when Arsene Wenger, after 20 years or so, had switched from a back four to a back three. In the press conferences afterwards, there were some senior hacks there who were grumbling, oh, we're going to get loads of questions about the back three again today, aren't we? How boring. Well, actually, there is a generation of football fans now who want to learn a bit more about the game, who want to understand a bit more about what's going on out there, and in this media game as well. We do too. So I applaud it. I'm all for it. The criticism was ridiculous for me.
On the subject of learning, Dean, the fact is that Ralph was right. There was evidence that Manchester United weren't tracking back and giving Saints more time on the ball. So do you want to talk us through some examples? Yeah,
definitely, Stephen. Look, I agree with everything Paul said there. I think it's brilliant that the manager's been really, really honest. And I don't think it's just the tracking back. If you look at James Ward-Prowse into Armstrong, Ronaldo needs to cut that off. Bruno Fernandes needs to stop that ball going wide. But we're highlighting the fact that they're not chasing back. It's more the understanding of the play, really, to stop the pass. And if again, what I will highlight from I can only talk about this game is I think the problem is Bruno Fernandes. Where Stuart Armstrong comes from is where Fernando is. And when he loses him and Stuart Armstrong gets a shot away, he's nowhere to be seen. He's not even in the picture. So his individual errors in the moment. If you look at this, Fernandes tries to close the ball down, which is right. It's a brilliant strike from Fraser Forster. It really is. But it's the reaction. Ronaldo's got his arms up. He's complaining to Rashford. Bruno Fernandes runs back. And why I think this is the goal, Southampton's goal, is the fact that Oyer Romeo's got too much time on the ball. Pogba gets picked off, but he does the right thing by potentially going to the ball because no one's there. Then he tries to recover. What it is Bruno Fernandes is now back in the picture. He's not on Oyer Romeo, where he needs to recover more. And if he's closing the goalkeeper down, then that's Ronaldo's job to be able to do that. So it's the fact of potentially the players not willing to do the work. Maybe they don't understand what the manager's asking them to do. And it's a little bit of detail where I think it's not always the tracking back. I think Ralph is right, that is part of it. But it's the understanding of actually getting back into position quicker, stopping a pass from going forward and forcing it to go back to give your teammate the chance to recover, to give your team more time. It was too easy for Southampton. Credit Southampton, they were brilliant. But it was too easy for Southampton to counter-attack quickly and run past Man United players. I think that's a problem. When you're a manager and you're seeing the opposition run past your player making more of an effort, then there's an issue, and that is more of an individual thing. But I think Bruno Fernandes in the Man United game was a real issue. He was kind of just drifting, he wasn't taking responsibility defensively, and kind of just was a player that's like, I'll do some work when I have the ball. When I haven't got the ball, I'm not really interested, and that's a problem.
Well, Dean, that brings us nicely onto the team news. Much of anticipation around this one. Lots of you sending in your comments, which we'll get to in just a moment's time. But let's run through that starting 11 now then, shall we? Just the one change. Tino Livramento comes in for Roman Perro. So let's run through that starting 11 now. In goal, Fraser Forster. At the back four, as I mentioned, Tino Livramento comes back into the starting 11. So Kyle Walker-Peters will move to the left with the centre-back pairing of Jan Bednarek and Mohamed Salisu. In the middle, it's our captain, James Ward-Prowse and Oriol Romeu. Out wide, it's Stuart Armstrong and Moi Elianusi. And leading the line, in Dean's words, is the unstoppable partnership of Che Adams and Armando Broja. The Saints bench is as follows then: Willy Caballero, Jan Valery, Jack Stevens, Ibrahima Diallo, Will Smallbone, Musa Gineppo, Theo Walcott, Shane Long and Adam Armstrong. Well, Balbers, let's come to you first then, because you spoke before the team news was announced about Kyle Walker-Peters. He's obviously been fantastic of late, incredibly useful down the right. Do you think he's as dangerous on the left?
I think a lot of players are asked to do both positions when there are injuries and things, and they don't cope nearly as well as Walker-Peters does. He's not as fantastic on the left because it is his weaker side, but there's not much weakness there, to be honest. And I think having Tino Livramento back in the side will get this crowd on their feet again. He is so exciting bursting forward. I think that dual threat, and a word to Perro as well. I was very harsh on him the first few weeks of the season. He was adjusting to a new country, a new division, everything about it, and I wasn't convinced by him at all. Way too early to make that call. He's been fantastic recently, but the fact that they have now got Livramento one side, Walker-Peters the other, I don't think there's any great drop off there at all.
Good back four, isn't it, Dean? And as Belvis said there, I mean, Perro's been fantastic, but the fans will be excited to see Tino again. I mean, what a start to life at Saints for him. What do you expect from him today?
Everything that we've seen all season, Kenzie. I think he's fantastic. When he comes from that deep position and he gives himself room to drive forward and really attack the winger and then the fullback, and he's given the space to do it, which I think he will be able to. With Stuart Armstrong, Elianusi play, they like to play more centrally, more as the number 10s, and get involved in the central of the pitch, and that gives Livramento so much space, and I think he enjoys that. He doesn't always want the combination of a 1-2. He wants a space to, with the pace and the power he has, to take a player on. And with Kyle Walker-Peters on the left-hand side, like Paul said, he's really adapted really well to that, and he can come in and where he won't be able to potentially go on the outside because he hasn't got that confidence in his left foot yet, he can combine, he can play that 1-2 and come in and get a shot away. So I'm looking forward to the fullbacks playing today. What's exciting about the Southampton team, there's partnerships that are really forming and really creating and really growing within the team, and I think that's the exciting part. And Livramento, it's great to have him back, and the fans will be excited to watch him play today.
Yeah, Dean, I can confirm actually the fans are indeed very excited. Lots of brilliant comments coming into us, so thanks to those of you who have sent those in so far. Let's take a look at a few of those now. Lots of you going for big wins actually today. David said he's going for a 3-1 win to the Saints. Gareth Lewis thinks the score will be 2-1 to Southampton. David Piper, thanks for this one. He says it isn't going to be an easy game. We must make the most of the home advantage, but up the mighty Saints. Julie Dennis, hello. She says, tried for past 4 hours to get here. Waterloo cancelled all trains, so now home and will watch from the settee. Julie, so sorry to hear you couldn't get to us, but hopefully you can perhaps tune into the live commentary and enjoy from the comfort and the warmth of the sofa as well. I can confirm it's very chilly here. And a comment here from Carly as well. She says, come on you Saints, a 2-1 victory is my prediction for today. So make sure you keep those comments coming into us, and we will read a few more of those out at the end of the show.
Yeah, a lot of positivity there, Kenzie. Now, Paul, at the start of the season when these two sides first met, all the talk was about Adam Armstrong. He got the goal that day, but he's only scored once since then. He's on the bench today. How important is it to not write him off? Because as we've seen with Che Adams, you need a bit of time to adapt in the Premier League.
And that's something I think Southampton are doing so exceptionally well. If you go back with Che Adams, how many games? It was so many games before that extraordinary strike against Manchester City, but they did so well in taking a bit of pressure off his shoulders. And Adam Armstrong has come in from a very similar position. He's scored so many goals in the Championship, come in for big money in Southampton terms, let's be honest, but because they're not reliant on him, because Shea Adams has had that time to bed in and get experience and lead the line, and then Armando Broja has just exploded from nowhere. There isn't this huge pressure on his shoulders, and he has got great talent. He's shown that goal against Everton on the opening day, the goal against Aston Villa here. I mean, you can't score a goal like that and not have bags of talent in there. So the fact that Southampton aren't reliant on him, aren't desperately needing him to chip in with 15 goals in his first season, I think that's a huge positive, because he will score goals in this division, but there's no rush to get him on the score sheet, to push him in there and put this pressure on him to say, we need you to perform. He can come in, he's obviously pushing the other two to keep performing because they know he's there in the background. He'll be scoring lots of goals in training. They know, right, we've got the shirts for now, but he's knocking on the door. He wants to take his starting position back, and I don't think it'll be too long before we see him have a run of games and a run of goals.
Well, Southampton and Everton met here last year. It was the 6th game of this season. Everton was sitting top of the league after 4 wins and 1 draw. But Dean, it was Southampton who ran the show in a 2-0 win.
They really, really did, and it was part of the season where Southampton was was starting to find their rhythm, winning games, and it was an excellent performance, a performance that we'd like to see today. A really attacking performance, lots of chances created, as we're seeing from the highlights. A brilliant goal from James Ward-Prowse. He's added this to his game. The connection that he had with Danny Ings, it's a brilliant 1-2, and that is a superb finish, a great strike, and like I say, James is adding that to his game. Shea Adams scoring as well, and just really, really on top against, like you say, Everton were top of the league at the time, full of confidence, full of belief, and Southampton blew them away. A very different team that Southampton have today, but some familiarities as well, the way they like to play. The goal that was disallowed as well was a brilliant strike, the movement from Shea Adams, the follow-up play from Stuart Armstrong, which we know he's very, very capable of. Another brilliant ball from Stuart Armstrong. Danny Ings just couldn't quite get there. But it was the combinations and the rhythm that Southampton were playing with, and the threat from set pieces from Vestergaard as well, who was very, very good in the air. And set pieces for Southampton last year were very, very strong. So an excellent performance, and something that Southampton could take in today. I think with the Everton team that they are at the moment, they're a little bit in between. There's a new manager, obviously, in Frank Lampard, and if Southampton can start like they did in the game that we've just watched and create chances and back themselves and play with that pace and energy, they will cause Everton problems today and create many, many chances like they did in the previous game last season.
The Saints actually have quite a good record, really, against Everton in this fixture. They've won 6 out of the last 8 games against the Toffees at St Mary's. Some great goals, but some own goals too.
Oh, some own goals. It's an extraordinary record. Everton always seem to put the ball in their own net in this fixture. There's been a couple in the same game. Some big players as well. Seamus Coleman has scored one. Romelu Lukaku also scored an own goal here at St Mary's. And they've come up against, Southampton have come up against a lot of different Everton managers as well. I was here when David Unsworth got trounced by a Mauricio Pellegrino team, which was a rarity that season. They do tend to produce entertaining games. I think Everton are a team that Southampton fans can look at and think, blimey, this could have been us. If we'd had different owners, could have invested all this money and let's be honest, wasted a lot of that money, gone down a different path, and ultimately, Southampton are in better shape than Everton, despite all of the extra history and the finances that all of their supporters will be going on about. A rare goal from Maya Yoshida as well, off his shoulder, by the way. But yeah, I think Everton, a lot of Everton fans will be looking enviously at the way Southampton have gone about things over the past decade, especially since returning to the Premier League, because they've gone about things a different way and haven't really progressed greatly. They've even pinched a Southampton manager in Ronald Koeman. Didn't work out for them. So many things they've tried haven't worked out. Southampton have a clear picture of how they want to progress, and it's working very well.
It Certainly is indeed. Well, let's get to some comments once again now then. Thanks for sending these through. And for anyone who is just joining us, if you missed the team news, just the one change for Southampton today. Tino Livramento comes in for Roman Perro, and it has been confirmed now that he is indeed missing through COVID. So, of course, we wish him all the very best. Now, Thomas Cole sent this one in. He's pleased with the lineup today. He says it's a strong starting 11. Ryan, thank you for sending this comment in. He says it's a great lineup. That team is tricky for anyone. Arthur on YouTube says Everton are a bit of unknown quantity at the moment. Well, yeah, let's talk about them in a bit more depth then, shall we, Dean? Because Everton have won just 2 Premier League games since September. The first of those was against Arsenal in December. The second, of course, was against Leeds last weekend. It's a very good opportunity for Southampton today.
It is, Kenzie. We were speaking about it before the show. I think this will be a tough fixture for Southampton today. I think Everton will be a lot better. There's a huge expectation on the football club, and the squad of players they have, they should be doing better, but they're not. So the results have not been there. But with Frank Lampard coming in, they've got a good victory in the FA Cup. They beat Leeds last weekend, as you say. So they have real ability within the group. But Southampton are on such a high and playing so well that if they can perform the way they have and play to their standard, whoever they're playing at the moment, they will give a game and be very competitive with and believe that they can win. I think a game like this, when Everton are down the bottom and they're almost in a relegation battle, they really are because of current form, that if Southampton start bright and get an early goal and play with that confidence, it'll be very, very difficult for Everton today. So it is an opportunity to back up those brilliant results we've had against Man City, to have against Tottenham, to have against Man United. But they weren't just great results, they were brilliant performances. They really, really well. You know, we spoke about it in detail after the show about the performances. They were exceptional. And I think if the team can continue that form today, they will be a real problem for Everton. But I think Frank Lampard's a good appointment for Everton, and I think they will come out fighting today. They have to, otherwise Southampton will turn them over. So I can see this be a tough challenge, but if Southampton are at their best, I can only see one winner.
Now, the next couple of games might seem easier on paper than the last few have been, but the fact is that Southampton lost to both Everton and Norwich earlier in the season. So, Paul, what have the Saints got to do to get the win today?
I think they've got to carry on the way they approached the last few games. You know, I was going to say it's easy to get up for those big games, you know, when you're playing against Man City here, when you go into Old Trafford or the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but it is this when you are more expected to win, where you have to keep those standards at the absolute highest level. I think it'll be fascinating in the middle of the park today because, like Dean said, no better partnership than James Ward-Prowse and Oriol Romeo right now. But Alan, the pit bull, Donny van der Beek, who can run a show as well, I think that could be a really interesting passage of play and how that all develops. But, you know, Southampton will approach this on the front foot. They will attack Everton. Frank Lampard's philosophy seems to be attack first rather than defence, so it could be quite an open game. I think Southampton always concede goals at the moment. They've improved so much defensively, but I can see, you know, them slipping a goal maybe. But on the other end, I would be staggered if we don't see a couple of Saints goals today.
All right, well, it is that time of the show where we do indeed come to you both for your score predictions. Dean's scratching his head. It's always a tense moment, this. Listen, you said that if Saints start bright today, then it should go their way. What are your thoughts ahead of kick-off?
Exactly that, Kenzie. I think it's all about Southampton. I really, really do. With the current form, if they start bright, start with that energy and put Everton under pressure, they will create chances. And like Paul's mentioned, I think there will be goals today. I really, really do. And I think if Southampton could defend well, Everton will concede goals. But obviously Frank Lampard is a forward-thinking manager, has attacking players coming back into the team, and there's more legs in the Everton team, so they will have more energy, and it does give you a freshness when a new manager comes in. So I'm going to go for, I sound a bit negative here, but I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw today.
Oh, for goodness.
Come on, Balbus, this is your chance. So 2-2 from Dean. What are you saying?
Your first prediction from the viewers was David. He said 3-1. That's what I thought coming here. I said I'd love Southampton to keep a clean sheet. It doesn't tend to happen at the moment, but I think at the other end, yes, there's going to be a couple of goals from Brozier, one from Adams. I'm going to say 4-1. 4-1. No, I'm going better.
Wow.
I'm not going to be boring and realistic.
Do you know He says it with so much confidence every time we say this, don't we?
Yeah.
I really believe you. I really do.
Amazing stuff. Well, Paul Dean, thank you so much for joining us. Now, we've got around 45 minutes until kick-off here at St Mary's as the players and indeed the fans brave the conditions as Southampton host Everton. Now, do join us after the game for the final whistle, where we'll have all the post-match reaction and analysis. So enjoy the football, and we'll see you then.
Bye for now.